Good morning, fellas, and welcome back to My Prize Garage. My name is Matt, and there's a ton of cool British game shows. So today I thought I would do a review of quite possibly the lowest stakes game show in the world, Richard Osman's House of Games. I find myself coming back to the show all the time, even though I live in the US. So let's give it a look, shall we? House of Games is a daily celebrity show where 4 stars compete each week. They play a variety of trivia games, and at the end of each episode, the winner gets to take home a daily prize. On most other game shows, prizes might be stuff like furniture, or a trip, or a car, and on celebrity shows they would usually play to win money for charity. But House of Games gives away random everyday items as prizes instead. So instead of a trip to Hawaii or £1,000 for charity, the daily prizes are things like a deck of cards, a pasta maker, a toolbox, blah 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 blah. Winning an episode earns you 4 points, second place gets 3, and so on and so forth. Friday shows are worth double points, so a clean sweep is 24 points in total. So far, the only person to win 5 shows in a row is Angela Barnes, who also racked up the 2 highest scores in the show's history. Whoever has the most points at the end of the week wins the worst trophy in the world. And I'm only saying mean things about the trophy because Richard jokes about how awful it is on the show too.
One of them, at the end of the week, is going to walk away with this terrible trophy.
There's a wide variety of games on this show. Some of them use the buzzers, some of them go down the line and ask each person their own question, some of them are team games, some of them involve using tablets, and there's a whole bunch of other miscellaneous stuff as well. The games they play each episode are random, asterisk. For the first 3 series, Rhyme Time was always the first game on Monday shows, and it still comes first in the week fairly often. If a game is played in the first round, you won't see it at any other point in the show, so Rhyme Time won't ever be played in round 3, for example. I've always found that kinda weird, since they're going for this whole every game is random sort of vibe with this show. If there's a one wrong word round, it's gonna come first, and if there's a music round, it's gonna come third. There's one game that's played last on every show, but we'll get back to that. For now, let's go through some of my other favorites. Distinctly average. Educated guess questions are nothing new for game shows. The American version of 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show used them, to determine who got to answer each main question first. Educated guesses are also like the entire point of The Price is Right. But House of Games turns these numerical questions into a team game. Richard asks a question, then everybody writes down a guess on their tablets. Whichever pair's average is closest to the actual answer gets a point. This game is home to some of the worst game show answers in human history. According to various contestants on the show, nearly 1 billion passes were made in the World Cup, Joey Chestnut can eat 1,000 hot dogs in 10 minutes, the tallest sandcastle in the world is 2 miles tall, and the Bible has 4 billion words. Actually, real quick, let's do the math on the Bible one. If you were to start writing a book that's 4 billion words long as soon as you were born, and you wrote 1 word per second, you would have to break the world record for oldest person to finish it in your lifetime, because 4 billion seconds is nearly 127 years. Congratulations! You've written a book that absolutely no one is gonna read, especially since the first 100 chapters would just be a key smash in my script I'm not gonna bother to try to read. The actual answer is a little under 800,000 words, which is also a lot, but 1 billion% more manageable. One time in this game, the question was how many football clubs have won the FA Cup between 1872 and 2018. Let's see what Alex Horn's guess is.
120, says June.
I did think you were going to go big, so I've gone for 1.
Very clever. Good.
Yeah, since you get points for having the closest average, sometimes it might be a good idea to try to drag your partner's guess down, if you think they're going to be way too high. Question writer's day off. If you're writing questions for a game show, you're a smart fella. But what if these smart fellas called in sick and had their kids write the questions instead? Well, this nonsense. The contestants are shown the names and ages of 8 of the question writer's kids, and they have to decide whose questions they want to answer. Some of the kids understand the assignment, and some of them very much don't. Zach, age 5, asks, "What color is my sword in Minecraft?" I don't know, I'm not watching you play Minecraft. David O'Doherty somehow got that one right, by the way. Tommy, age 4, asks, "What size are T-Rex's teeth?" I don't freaking know. The size of a mouse, a tractor, a Model T-Rex? You do get some good questions in this round, but you're asking for trouble if you pick one of the younger kids' questions.
What starts with J?
Yes!
That's a proper question.
I like it.
Good question.
If I was 3, I would say jam.
If you were 3, you would say jam. Is jam correct?
Oh, that's more sensible.
It's the correct Oh my goodness.
And the answer isn't. Each contestant gets 1 multiple choice question. And that's it. No, of course not. The twist here is that their opponents wrote the wrong answers before the show. This is a fun one because not only do they usually come up with really good wrong answers, but if you get fooled, the point goes to whoever wrote the wrong answer you chose. Highbrow, lowbrow. In this game, each player is asked 2 questions. Both of them have the same answer, but the first one is a more academic highbrow question, and the second is a more lowbrow pop culture question. If you get it from just the highbrow question, you get 2 points. But if you change your answer on the lowbrow question and get that one right, that's 1 point. I like this round because even though the highbrow questions are pretty difficult, you can wager a guess based on what answer is likely to have a lowbrow question. Like if they asked a question about a composer, Beethoven would be a good guess if you had no clue, because that's also the name of that movie with that dog. Chopin wouldn't be as good a guess, because there's not a whole lot of modern movies or songs named after him. Answer Smash. This game is played last on every show. It's pretty similar to the American game show Smush, where you smash 2 words or phrases together. But on this show, you get 1 clue when you have to smash it into whatever's in the accompanying picture. So if I showed you this picture and asked, what Simon and Garfunkel song is also the name of their final studio album as a duo, the answer would be Golden Gate Bridge Over Troubled Water. You get a ton of answers that are just plain fun to say. One time the question was about Hogwarts, and the picture was a warthog. Yep, warthogwarts. All in the details. Before the show, each contestant fills out 3 clues to an answer, and their partner has to guess it. But you have to write the clues based on what you already know. You can't look them up. So you get absolutely lovely hints like she's from France, maybe? Sure. She discovered the elements we all love. She's won 2 big science trophies. 1 point if you guessed that this was Marie Curie. I love this round because everybody is just doing their best. There's a handful of games that mostly exist so the question writers can flex their wordsmithing muscles, and you know what? I'm here for it. Answer Smash is one of them, of course, but there's also ones like the answers in the question. The contestants are given a category as well as a clue about something within said category. The answer is always an anagram of a few words in all caps. Where else would you ever learn that open loan is an anagram of Napoleon? Here's a few more just for fun. This painter's work had flair, okay, is Frida Kahlo, Pilot Cheer is helicopter, and Toffee Tart, High Risk Babe, is the Great British Bake Off. You've also got all in the name. In this round, the contestants are all given a clue, and the answer's letters can all be found within one of their names. My name is Matt Pinnock, so if I were on the show, they might have answers like cation, napkin, timpano, that's the singular of timpani in Italian, by the way, or the longest word you can make with my name, non-impact. No clue how you would write a question with the answer non-impact, but that's not my problem to solve. Really, that's not anybody's problem to solve, because most people's names will have plenty of possible options. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. Keyword is most people. Sometimes you'll have fellas and fellaettes with really short names and not a lot of vowels, so the options are pretty slim. One time, JB Gill was on the show, and the 2 answers based on his name were Bill and Jill. Makes me feel like they should just play other games besides this one on those weeks, but it's whatever. A couple easy questions never hurt anyone. Sometimes the answers will have multiple words, but those are less common. One other thing to note is that each question is worth 1 point like normal, but you get 2 points if you get an answer based on your own name right, which I think is a neat touch. There's also a bunch of games that are more or less carbon copies of each other. Mouse of Games, Klaus of Games, House of Gamers, and Hose of Games are all essentially the same idea. You're given the synopsis of a movie, TV show, novel, or whatever, except it doesn't actually exist. It just has a similar title to a work that does exist. Mouse of Games was the first one of these to be introduced. In this game, you're just changing one letter to get the title of the new book or show or whatever. Taskmaster might become Taskfaster, the Wedding Singer turns into the Weeding Singer, and the Raven becomes the Ramen. Similarly, Hose of Games has you taking a letter out instead of changing one, Klaus of Games involves replacing one word with something that rhymes, and House of Gamers is all about adding a letter. Of course, as you can probably imagine, there's quite a few clues that work on Mouse of Games as well as Klaus of Games, because you can get a lot of rhymes by just changing the first letter, but oh well, what can you do? Well, never play Klaus of Games, I guess. It's only been played once so far. There's also quite a few games where you have to take the answer and say it wrong. In Sorry Wrong Number, the answers will have numbers in them, and you have to do some simple operation to said number. So if the rule was to subtract 1, and Richard asked you for a slang term for a short nap, you'd have to say 39 winks. Or if you had to multiply by 8 and they asked for a proverb that means you shouldn't behave badly just because somebody else does, the answer would be 16 wrongs don't make a right. Or if the rule was to divide by 7 and they asked for the exact number of stars in the universe, whoever wrote the question would be fired. Anyway, you've also got Games House of, where you have to say the words in the answer in alphabetical order. Normally, the answers aren't too hard to alphabetize. Instead of Joe Biden, you'd have to say Biden Joe. Uptown Funk becomes Funk Uptown. You get the idea. Sometimes they'll trip people up by asking a question with one short word in the answer over and over and over. Some of those hard answers include came, conquered, I saw, and bad, good, the, ugly, and there's also some that are just plain long, like dance I somebody wanna with. Similarly, there's the backwards round, but this time not only do you have to say the answers backwards, but the questions are also backwards. So a question could go, Malaysia of capital the is city which, and then the answer would be Lumpur Kuala. On one episode they asked, Minister Prime UK as Blair Tony succeeded who? And that question ended up tricking everybody.
Dane.
Major John?
Incorrect, I'm afraid.
Because they didn't read it backwards properly. It was asking who succeeded Tony Blair, not who Tony Blair succeeded.
You gotta read the question backwards. You've all been tricked. Nick.
Anyway, the right answer was Gordon Brown. Excuse me, Brown Gordon. They also play songs backwards in this round, but I'm not gonna play them here because I'd rather this video not get copyright claimed, thanks. Can't take any chances on this website. Richard also has the power to just press a God button and distribute points however he feels like. One time in Answer Smash, the answer was Sturf Ryan Reynolds, and Rachel Paris came up with Ryan Renoodles. Normally, a wrong answer in this round costs you a point, but Richard decided to not deduct one because...
It's a funnier answer.
I mean, he's not wrong. During the geography round, Where is Kazakhstan? Usually, only the person who's closest to the right spot on the map gets a point. But every now and then, he'll give points to multiple people if they're close enough. Heck, he's given points to all 4 people before.
I mean, I'm gonna give every single person a point for that, I think, because everyone's so close, so a point to everybody there.
Sometimes in Distinctly Average, he'll award an extra point for individual answers that are exactly right, or averages that are really close.
What's the answer to this one, please? According to Guinness World Records, to the nearest second, how long did it take the world's fastest tortoise to travel 18 feet? Johnny, are you happy with 16 seconds?
Almost right.
20 seconds, says Johnny.
Did someone throw this tortoise?
How long did that tortoise take, and who has won the point? 20 seconds! Wow. Johnny Ball was bang on. According to the British Coffee Association, how many cups of coffee are consumed in the UK per day? 180 million. Susie,
what I'm going to do there is I'm going to bring Johnny's down to a reasonable number and go 12.5 million.
Your average, Susie and Johnny, is 96,250,000.
What?
95 million? That is so close. I mean,
one time during Put Your Finger on It, nobody could figure out where the peen was in a toolbox. But Richard wound up giving Susie Dent a point anyway because of how she worked it out. The same way there's a word for the end of a shoelace. Leave a comment if you learned the word aglet from Phineas and Ferb, by the way. Susie figured out that the ends of hammerheads probably have names as well. And she was right, but she picked the wrong end. The blunt side is the face, and the curved side is the peen. That kind of judging would be the worst thing in the universe on any other show. But it's not a big deal here because there's pretty much no stakes whatsoever. Taking away a point or awarding 2 isn't going to cost anyone money. And I don't think any of the celebrities are going to lose any sleep just because they didn't win a House of Games dartboard. If you're going to say, here's a list of rules, we're only sorta kinda going to follow them on any game show, this is the best one to be lenient on. Plus, it's not like Richard is using his powers for evil. Anytime he messes with the points, you can kind of see where he's coming from. But one situation where Richard presses the God button is an actual gripe I have with the show. It's a minor one, but a gripe nonetheless. Each episode they play one team game, and whoever is in last place gets to pick their partner. And that'd be all well and good, but the team game is always the second round. And usually nobody's gonna have more than 3 or 4 points after one round, so there's a good chance there'll be a tie. In that case, Richard usually just kinda plays it by ear. Normally he'll pick someone who hasn't picked a partner yet, but sometimes he'll just choose one at random. And the fix is really easy too, just move the team round closer to the end. There's other possibilities, like randomizing the partners or just pairing them up with the person next to them. Again, not a cardinal game show sin or anything, because you can get away with a lot more in this kind of format. And I mean, hosting a game show where you have a God button is a heck of a gig. I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be pressing it at every opportunity if I were in his shoes. Actually, scratch that. I'm 5'4", his shoes are probably way too big for me. This motherfather is 6'7". House of Games airs daily on BBC Two, but it's also shown up a couple of times as a weekly show on BBC One, under the title Richard Osman's House of Games Night. It features a lot of rounds from the regular show, but it also added some primetime exclusive games. The first series of House of Games Night introduced a music round called Don't Cry For Me Guatemala. Before the show, contestants were asked trivia questions, but it turns out the right answers were also lyrics to well-known songs. A live band came out and performed the song, but they were replace the lyrics with clips of the contestants' answers.
According to Guinness World Records, which TV game show has broadcast the most series?
Family Fortunes.
The first series of House of Games Night was pretty much the same as the regular show with some new rounds, but the second series kicked it up to 11. The set has this fancy schmancy red and gold color scheme, and now the band is led by David O'Doherty, and they're on stage for the whole show. They've also got a live audience that took part in some of the games. One game in Series 2 was called Is There a Doctor in the House of Games? They ask an obscure question that the contestants have basically no chance of knowing, but one of the audience members does know it, because they're an expert in the field, a world record holder, or the question is specifically about them. You get a point by picking whoever knows the answer. So it's like To Tell the Truth or What's My Line, but you're basically just going off vibes. One question asked what country's passport grants you visa-free access to the most places, and in the audience they had the first guy to visit every country without flying. For anybody who's curious, the answer is Japan. They also had people like the world's first test tube baby, the inventor of pin technology, and a former world's strongest woman. Really cool stuff. This version of House of Games Night moved a little bit slower, only playing 4 round some episodes, but you know what? I don't mind it, because they had some awesome games. Although there was an art round, where you had to use a specific medium to get your partner to guess a landmark, and I refuse to believe that this is meant to be anything other than just a pile of pasta. That's a joke. Once I found out it's the Sydney Opera House, it started to make sense.
And can we see after he did the art?
One thing you probably noticed watching this video is that I pointed out a handful of flaws with the show, then followed it up with, but it's not really a big deal. And yeah, that sums out how I feel about House of Games quite nicely. It's not a perfect show by any means, but it doesn't have to be, because of how little is on the line. And either way, it's still one of my favorite game shows, because a lot of the rounds are really fun, and there's such a wide variety of them as well. 93 in total as of writing this script. Richard Osman is also a good host, and the question writers pump out banger after banger. One thing I've kind of wondered is whether the show would work well if you had regular people instead of celebrities. And honestly, my answer is, maybe. You'd probably have to play for money instead of random junk, and if that were the case, you'd definitely have to tighten up the rules. Richard being lax and handing out points however he sees fit is part of the charm of the show as is, but giving somebody an extra point for a funny answer or a really good or wrong one might have actual consequences if you were playing for cash. Welp, that's House of Games. Most episodes of the show are available right here on YouTube, so I would definitely recommend giving it a watch. Subscribe to My Prize Garage for more game show videos like this, as well as daily shorts. I'll see you all tomorrow. Good night, fellas. Sleep well.